Hello and welcome to another session on spectrum. We shall continue with the poem.
He orders some to dig, some to sing, some to play. The power has gone to his head, and maybe he even considers himself an artist. So he is like, he is being a part of the Nazi party. He has the right to even kill any of these prisoners. So he can go to any extent. He can become at any extreme. So here you can see this a man deriving happiness out of another person's sorrow or suffering. And he considers himself like an artist. He beats the prisoners with a rod like that you have with the policeman, the lathi that the policeman has, just like that. Here he has an iron rod. He grabs at his iron in his belt. So just like the policemen, they have their lathi or that iron rod with them, that baton, just like that. He also has this iron rod, and he beats the prisoners with this rod. And his blue and swings it, and blue are his eyes. See, the guard's eyes are blue in color. Again, suggestive of the Nazis, because Nazis mostly their eyes are blue. They have blonde hair, and this can be, or this is another coded symbol of Nazi racial ideal. And then there is yet another thing also about this blue eyes. Now it can also mean that his eyes are burning with something very, threatening, very not something that where he has some bad thoughts in his mind, something very crooked, some crooked, cunning, hideous plan is going on in his mind. So this eyes burning or his blue eyes can symbolize something menacing, something troublesome. He's like something, he has something up his sleeves. So the guard's cruelty comes out, really comes out in these lines. He asks the prisoners to work beyond their endurance. They are not given any chance to rest. They have to keep working, and if at all they fail, if at all they are not able to work, they are shot dead. He always wants more and more and more, and he seems to be mocking them with the mention of dancing, as if he asks some to play the music and asks some to dance, and out of this pain they are dancing, not out of happiness. It is not the dance out of happiness or merry kind of dance. It is a dance because if they don't dance, then they will be shot dead. They'll be killed. So they have to dance. They have to dance to their whims and fancies, to whatever the Nazis tell them, whatever they demand of them. If they don't do it, they will be shot dead. Okay, so you see the saddest kind of nature in the guard. All right, so let's move on to the next few lines. Black milk of daybreak, we drink you at nightfall, we drink you at noon, in the mornings we drink you at nightfall, drink you and drink you, a man in the house, your golden hair Margaret, your ashen hair Shulamith, he plays with the serpents. So see the form of fugue that is repeated here, the repetition, the main theme is repeated again, but with some changes in the lines. Right? Your ashen, look at the earlier stanzas where Shulamith was introduced. Your ashen hair Shulamith, we are digging a grave in the sky, it is ample to lie there, was the earlier stanza. But in this stanza, you have your ashen hair Shulamith, then he plays with the serpents. So there is a change in the lines. At the same time, there is the theme again does not change. The theme is repeated, and this form is called fugue. All right, and so this fugue forms, this form always follows the same general order. After the black milk, the poem moves to the Nazi guard who lives in the house. Okay, so it is like that same fugue order is followed. It has a general order. If you look at from the first stanza onwards, black milk of daybreak, then you have a man in the house. Again, then you have black milk of daybreak, then a man in the house. And then you have a black milk of daybreak and a man in the house. See that form? It is repeated and it has the same general order. Okay, and if you look at the next line also, he shouts, play sweeter death's music, death comes as a master from Germany. He shouts, stroke darker the strings, and as smoke you shall climb to the sky. Then you'll have a grave in the clouds, it's ample to lie there. See, so the same theme, the theme is, though the words are rearranged and changed, the theme remains the same. So if you look at death comes as a master from Germany, right? Death comes as a master from Germany. Now what does that mean? So the God here wants the Jews to play the song of death more sweetly. See how sadist he is, how inhuman he is. He wants the Jews to play the song of death that they are going to experience, and that they are being warned about, and that they know that they will soon be all killed, all of them will be killed. They know what is happening, and then this God wants the Jews, who knows that this is what is going to happen to them, he makes them play this the death's the song, the fugue, the note, and he also wants them to play it more sweeter. So this is ironic, right? And how are they going to die? How are these Jews going to die? They're going to die a violent death, right? They are not going to die as like getting old and then dying a natural death. Death is not peaceful to them here. Peaceful to them in the sense that the idea of death itself is violent here. It's not a peaceful death, and therefore this line itself is very ironic, because the God wants the Jews to play the song of death more sweetly, and this idea of violent death, this is ironic. Of violent death is not a sweet concept. How can you imagine, or how can you expect them to imagine it as a sweet concept and thereby play the death's music more sweetly, as if they are very happy, wow, we are going to die, wow, and then dance and sing? So it looks very ironic, and it is it shows the saddest, inhuman nature of the Nazis, and through the God, that is. Play death. Now look at another word. Look at the word. He shouts, play sweeter death's music. Play death, that is. Play sweeter death's music. So play death also literally means play the death fugue, or let's do the death dance. Okay, so play death's music has a reference to that. Playing the death fugue means the song of death, and death dance here is a reference to dance of death. So he's wrapped up in his romantic ideas of art and music, and he completely ignores the sufferings of these musicians or these Jews. And if you look at the next line, he shouts that same line itself, death comes as a master from Germany. So there is a new variation, a variation in the fugue here, this form. He shouts, plays sweeter death's music, death comes as a master from Germany. So there is a difference, right? So there is a difference in the sense he shouts, look at the earlier stanzas, he shouts, stab deeper in earth, you there, and you others, you sing and you play. That was what the earlier stanza was about. In this stanza, he shouts, play sweeter death's music, and then there is a variation in the fugue, in the form. Death comes as a master from Germany, it seems. So the word master if you look at the translation, German translation, master has a very important connotation for any German speaker. First, there is this idea of a slave master. For Germans, especially when it comes to German speakers, this master, the word master has a big significance. So one is that of the idea of a slave master. The Nazi guard is definitely a kind of slave master. So the guard is being compared with death itself. So he looks like Yama, okay, and he looks like the death itself. So the Nazi guard is definitely a kind of slave master. So the guard is being compared to death itself. Right? Like the grim reaper wielding his scythe over these poor Jews. So he can be looked upon as death itself. And another idea of this master is the Nazi idea of master race. So two meanings here. The word master has got two ideas here. One is that of slave master, whereby you can consider the Nazi guard as a kind of slave master, which you can look and eventually you can look at him as being compared to death itself. So the slave master as a death, as you know, the one you can picturize him as death. Okay, the grim reaper, that is that skeleton figure with a scythe, you can picturize him like that. And another one is the word master. You have the Nazi idea of master race. Rather than leading to the improvement of mankind, this idea actually leads to death and suffering. So what is this master race? This master race, or the superior race, where Hitler speaks about eliminating all the other people in the world because they are impure. Especially the Jews are looked down upon as impure people. Not just the Jews, okay, you must remember that these people had this very superior idea of Aryan race. They considered others, even those who do not belong to the Aryan race, they are all they come under this rank, and the Jews forms the lowest rank. All the colored people, everyone are looked down as impure people. And therefore, here for them, eliminating these people or killing these people, rather to use the word eliminate than kill, eliminating these people, they consider it as an improvement of mankind. as an improvement of their superior master race. They only want the master race, that superior race to be there. For them, if you look at it from their psychology, they think that they are doing something good to the society, but this idea actually leads to death and suffering. Finally, the word master points back to that mixed legacy of German musical tradition. For a German person, the world would likely to bring to mind Richard Wagner's famous opera, The Master Singers of Nuremberg. Wagner was one of the most famous and brilliant romantic composers of the 19th century. But he was also an anti-Semite who was the beloved of Adolf Hitler. So now you look at the shade of the god. I told you the god has a shade of Hitler. The god has a shade of death of them. The doctor, who is considered as the angel of death. And also now you can see the shade of this German composer, Richard Wagner, who was the beloved of Adolf Hitler, because he also believed in this so-called master race. And the German city of Nuremberg was the site of some of the most notorious Nazi rallies. So Celan is linking the musical tradition with Nazism in a sense. Now we understand why Celan slowly brings in this the culture, the musical tradition, and the literature of Germany into this. One, it adds a kind of depth to the poem as such. Another, it increases that saddest kind of feel where you find suffering and literature together. He also tells us how things were different 100 years before Germans or Nazis rule. And here, so you have the word master. Now you just read that and see. He shouts, plays sweeter, death's music. Death comes as a master from Germany. So here it has three different connotations. So three different meanings. One is the Nazi god that stands as a slave of a kind of slave master, who is the master, and the Jews are his slaves, and he can be given the picture of death itself, and the Jews as the victims that he is going to pry on. Okay, and then you have the master race, which is the Aryan superior race, where they tried to bring improvement of mankind, but which actually resulted in death and suffering. Now they're kind of bringing a solution to or purification of the whole world was this: get rid of the ones who are not Aryans. They believed in it. Even look at it, even the famous composer the world knows of, the German composer the world knows of, that is Richard Wagner, he also believed in this. That's why I told you about the history. I did mention this in the first video of in Nomena Foreign, about how the Nazis, their propagandas, and how they made advertisements, and how things were in the newspapers. Slowly they were persuading people to think in their terms, and slowly people started thinking. They were okay. It is true that there were people who did not support this, but those people were brutally victimized also. Those people who did not, those Aryans, those superior Aryans, the so-called superior Aryans, or those Germans who did not support this Holocaust, they were victimized by Hitler, and the others, they were scared, and they were just onlookers. They did not know what to do. They were scared, and therefore they were neutral. They did not speak anything against it, nor did they stand for it. But the majority of the Germans, they believed in what Hitler said, and slowly this kind of, even racism is like that, right? Racism, that black versus white, that phenomena itself is something that has been ingrained in people through various propagandas. Now what has Trump done to the Americans now? So he says, he shouts, stroke darker the strings and as smoke you shall climb to the sky. The guard, he reverts to his composer mode again, and he feels that it is not enough. He has not, he has not critiqued, or he has not embarrassed them enough. He finds happiness in embarrassing them. He finds happiness in threatening them, in warning them, in telling them how they are going to be killed. He finds happiness in it. So here he really sounds like the cliche of the romantic personality trying to wring every bit of emotion out of music. Okay, so being a romantist, he's trying to bring out the romantic piece out of him, out of this situation also. So he's he's becoming very, his words are very poetic, but poetic from what? From what kind of emotion here? Every last bit of emotion out of the music is brought out. He says, he shouts, stroke harder the strings. So play the musical instrument. So he's asking them to play or strike on them darker, so that they will be able to, become smoke as you shall climb in the sky. What does that mean? He tells the prisoners that once they have finished playing the music, they will rise. They will rise like what? They will rise like smoke to the sky. All right. So once they finish playing music, they will be elevated. They will be elevated, like when you tell a person who if he plays musical instruments, you tell them, if you practice daily, you will become a great person. Just like that, here he is saying, if you play the music, after playing the strings, you will be elevated, you will reach the sky. Now what does that mean? Literally, it means that they will be killed, their bodies will be burned. So here he is becoming, or he that in human saddest nature, it comes out, and he finds happiness in telling them, once when you are done with this music, you are going to be killed, you will become ash, and thereby you will reach the sky. Rising into the sky sounds nice, but rising as a smoke, not very much nice, right? So here it is a reference to how they will be cremated, how they are going to be cremated in those large crematoriums, and they will rise at smoke and they will reach the sky, which again is, according to the Nazis, is good for the Jews, because they are impure. They shouldn't be on earth. And the same thing is repeated here. He says that once you are burnt, once you're dead, you won't have to lie too crumpled, or there is ample to lie there. So unlike the concentration camps where you don't have any place to lie, where your life is difficult, the best thing for you is death. you embrace death, be happy with death, and once you are burnt, once your bodies are burnt, you will reach the sky as smoke. See how cruel he is. You will reach high up in the sky as smoke, and you have ample lot of space to move around there in the sky. So this this is very cruel thing to say, right? So here the sky is an imaginary grave, comes as an imaginary grave. So this god, he is using a lot of metaphors and fancy images, and he speaks like a poet. And he finds happiness in harassing and warning and threatening the prisoners. And the prisoners, on the other hand, they live in the brutal reality of the camps. So the two contrasts of lives are shown before you. How the Nazis would live. They live a happy life, whereas look at the Jews and how they live. They lost everything, they have lost their belongings, they have lost their family, their families are killed in front of them, they have to lie in these concentration camp in inhuman conditions, they are living a brutal or they are living a hell of a life. Okay, so we'll stop here and we'll take up the last stanza in the next class. So thank you and keep safe.